everybody, and welcome to the pregnancy webinar. So I'm super excited to talk to you guys today about pregnancy. A little bit about me. I am a chiropractor. I would definitely say that I'm more of a pediatric prenatal chiropractor. See lots of pregnant mamas in our office. I'm also a mom of 5. And I often will joke that I'm a retired doula as well, because I did do all the training to be a doula. I was a doula for several moms before realizing that that just did not fit in with our schedule. So, like I said, 5 kiddos of my own. I had 3 hospital births and I had 2 home births. So I've had wide variety of experiences to draw from, lots of training with breastfeeding, because I struggled with my first one. So I did a lot of extra training with breastfeeding because I want moms to have more success with it and enjoy it more. So that being said, the reason why I decided to do this webinar was because I'm a little off center, so I'm sorry, you guys. I often hear in my office comments such as, I wish I would have known, or, with my first pregnancy, I just went into it blind, and they're like, I had no idea that experience would then change my experience for the second one and the third one and so on. So, or a lot of people are like, I didn't even know that I could go to a chiropractor when I'm pregnant. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about benefits of chiropractic care during pregnancy, but for the most part, you guys, we want you to have a healthy pregnancy. I want you to enjoy pregnancy more. And so by doing some of these things throughout pregnancy, it can really have a wonderful effect on that labor and delivery. And we want that to be a good experience, because it can be a good experience. A lot of times I feel like in our society, we hear all these horror stories, and it doesn't have to be that way. So that's kind of what spurred on us doing this webinar in particular. But when it comes to chiropractic care during pregnancy, you guys, not only is it safe, but there's tons of benefits to getting chiropractic care during pregnancy. So I am going to go through a few of those to start off with. I think as you guys comment that I'm going to be able to see, I don't know. But if you do have little comments or questions, if I can answer them on the webinar, I sure will. Otherwise, I'll get back to you on those questions later. So I'm coming to you guys from my house, so I could be nice and comfy. So number one benefit chiropractic care, you guys, well, it's not necessarily the number one, but it's one most people think of, is for you to feel good. Like, we want you to enjoy pregnancy. And so oftentimes we have a lot of neck, shoulder discomfort. Your belly goes forward, and a lot of times these will go back. And so it's just this whole change of posture and how we walk and things like that. But you're growing a baby. So first and foremost, I think that's the number one reason why a lot of people will come to the chiropractor, is because they want to feel good. And so low back pain, maybe it's hard to turn over in bed. You might have pubic symphysis discomfort, pressure, which is like, you might have some pressure in the front of that belly, especially as you get bigger. Discomfort getting in and out of bed, in and out of the car, things like that. We want to make sure, you guys, that your body's more in ease and you can enjoy things without so many of the aches and pains. So that's probably the number one reason why a lot of people will go to a chiropractor. So I put that as like the number one benefit, just because that's what people think of more so. So second thing is going to be your energy, because you're growing a baby, and that takes a ton of energy. And so you might be a little fatigued and things like that, but we want to help with that energy. One of the great things in our office is we can really see, where are you starting from? What kind of energy do you have right now? And we go from there, because we want you guys to have energy. Like I said, you're growing another human. It's not an easy job necessarily. We want you to have better sleep, less fatigue, and we definitely want you guys to have more endurance, especially come labor and delivery. It's not always a marathon. Sometimes it's a sprint, as it was in my case, but you still need to have endurance to get through that. You still need to have endurance to do the pushing at the end and things like that. So that would be the second thing, would be your energy. You want to help with your energy, and that's one of the benefits of having chiropractic care during pregnancy. Third thing, you guys, reducing stress and anxiety. I just did a webinar about this on strictly stress and anxiety last week, but I think the biggest thing is we want to help educate you guys and empower you. So important that we're educated and empowered. You cannot be in stress and thrive at the same time. And I went over this last week, right? Stress, that fight or flight all the time. We don't want moms to be in fight or flight. And that's because the more fight or flight you're in, the more stress hormones that you're producing, the more stress hormones you're producing, the more stress you're dumping into your system, right? And there isn't a placental barrier. So that means the more stress hormones your baby is getting exposed to. We don't want babies being in fight or flight. They should be more in that rest and digest and things like that. So after labor and delivery, which a lot of times they will be more in that fight or flight, that survival, right? Getting through that. But then we need them switching into rest and digest. And so often babies are not. And so when we think about what is fight or flight for a baby, that's going to be things like after birth that are going to come up are going to be maybe it's constipation, maybe it's colic, maybe it's not sleeping well, things like that, not able to really calm down or take naps and whatnot. So there isn't a placental barrier. If you're producing tons and tons of stress, that is going to be all exposed. Baby's going to be exposed to all of that. So we really want to help you guys with managing that stress and anxiety and helping you better able to adapt to the changes that your body's going through physically, but also emotionally as well, because it can be at a very emotional time period. The next thing, you guys, is going to be pelvic alignment. Now, this is huge. We take into account the pelvis, the muscles, the ligaments, so that everything is working together and not against each other. We don't want added stress to your system because that's going to take energy from the system. Like I said just a couple seconds ago, you're growing a baby. That already takes a ton of energy. We don't want more energy being put on trying to make these parts work together when they're not. So let's make sure that we don't want added stress on those parts. Remember that growing a baby takes a lot of energy, you guys. And so we have only so much energy to distribute. Some have more than others. So once again, this is the great thing about our HRV scans, is to see how much energy you actually have to distribute to some of these things. But we want to make sure your body's working efficiently. That's huge, and that's a huge word, efficiently, right? And when alignment is off, and the pelvis, the muscles, the ligaments, if they're not working together, it makes the system run less efficiently. When labor and delivery come about, we want that body to have less stress on the system so that it's not fatiguing and you have more energy for that labor and delivery. So I've taken a lot of classes, you guys, from Carol Phillips, and so we do some different things like sideline release in our office. I'll show moms how to do it on their own. I will show dads how they can help moms do that. Really important that I mention, it is not a side posture adjustment. It is a sideline release. I don't do side postures on moms in my office, but I love that I can show moms how to do this and dads how to do this. Oftentimes dads are like, I don't know how to help with your pain. I can't do anything. You absolutely can. So we're doing sideline releases, sacral releases. I can show you how to do some of those things, help moms with doing inversions, things like that at home to make moms more comfortable. So the thing that a lot of people will say or think of with chiropractic is, you know, if baby's not in a good position, a lot of times they'll say, go to a chiropractor. Well, what they're referring to, you guys, is Webster technique. And so I wanted to read you an actual definition because I think that it's very important to know the actual definition of what we're actually referring to when we say we're going to do Webster protocol. So Webster is a specific chiropractic adjustment used to facilitate balance and improved function in the mother's pelvis. Balancing the pelvis and normalizing its function may alleviate tense muscles and ligaments, preventing the baby from assuming baby from assuming optimal fetal positioning. So we're balancing out the pelvis. We're balancing out those muscles and ligaments, which oftentimes can free up some room for baby. So that's what we're talking about with Webster technique, pelvic alignment, things like that. So just want to make sure I got my notes because last time I went too long. The other thing too that we do in our office, you guys, is we're checking adductors. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, I don't know what this is. So your adductors are on the inside of your thighs and they will attach to basically the pubic bone. And so if those muscles aren't balanced, instead of the pubic bone sitting a line, it'll get off of alignment, and we don't want that. So we do check that in our office too for moms, because if that's off, everything else gets off too, right? Because it's all connected. So the next thing I want to mention, you guys, is the uterus. The uterus is an organ, right? And it's made out of muscle fibers. So if there is a pull, it's going to twist back, and that actually can cause a weak point in the uterus, and we don't want that. So that's another benefit to having chiropractic care throughout pregnancy. Next, you guys, labor. We need that head to be, of the baby, to be in proper alignment in order for it to press on the cervix so that the cervix can dilate. So if the baby's head is in proper alignment, you're going to be able to dilate better. Effacement's going to be more efficient. So we want to have that nice alignment of the baby's head as well. So proper alignment of the pelvis, right? And that can help with baby having enough room sometimes to get into that better position. But this also comes why we do some of those inversions and things like that. Things that I learned through, it's called dynamic body balancing with Dr. Carol Phillips. So she has tons and tons of training and whatnot and information, and her trainings have just been awesome to incorporate into helping you pregnant moms. So after birth, and you guys, all of this information, I'm literally skimming the surface because there's so much. We could go all day and I still wouldn't cover everything. But I want to mention after birth because I think that this is a topic that often gets skipped. We so often, after babies here, babies often get all the attention almost, and not moms. But moms, so important, you guys. We want to help you adjust to the changes that your body just went through. All of a sudden it had baby and now it doesn't have the baby inside anymore. So after birth, a lot of times, not always, right? We'll sometimes say it's kind of like you got hit by a truck. And you might feel like that. Like I said, some people, it's a marathon, and for others, it's a sprint. For me, it was a sprint. It was super, super fast, but that's not always good either. And it was like, what just happened? Like, what did my body just go through, right? And so, like I said, for some, it's a marathon. Others, it's a really fast sprint. So not only getting adjusted during pregnancy, but making sure after, because you still have a lot of relaxin in your body. Your milk's coming in, so all of a sudden you have more weight on the front, but also you're holding a baby. You're like this more. Your arms like this or like this. You're carrying a car seat. So there's a lot of different changes for your posture and the way that you're doing things after you have a baby. And that pelvis just expanded, right, to allow a baby to go through. So now is really where we want to make sure that you heal to the best of your body's ability, right? So we really want to help facilitate that healing process. And also thinking about that alignment too, that as the body heals, that pelvis comes back into proper alignment so that the next pregnancy or the next pregnancy, it's starting off in a good spot, okay? When it comes, you guys, to prenatal chiropractic, we're not just about adjustments. And I want to make this so clear because there's so many aspects to pregnancy. And oftentimes what we will see is women prepare, maybe they prepare physically, right? Like they're working out and all this stuff, but they don't prepare mentally or emotionally. They don't read all their books and become super knowledgeable in the labor and delivery and things that they can do now to help them achieve the birth that they want. And I've seen it the opposite. I've seen moms who have read tons of books and they're super knowledgeable and they've prepared mentally and emotionally, but they don't prepare their bodies physically, or they overdo it. okay? And so we want you guys to have this balance. We want you to be educated and empowered, and we want you to prepare your bodies physically as well as mentally and emotionally. There's so many aspects to birth, and one of the things that we'll do in our office is we'll ask questions about maybe their birth plan. And I often don't say that I don't really like the name birth plan. I think it's more birth preferences, because things come up, you know. And my idea of a good labor and delivery is not the next person's idea of like a really good labor and delivery. And so it's helping you to find out what you want your experience to be like, and then going from there. What are your goals? Okay, let's work towards that. So when we start asking you questions or having you ask your doctor questions, because then come labor and delivery, you're not surprised. They know what you want, and you know what their stance is on that, and it's going to be such a better experience. Sometimes moms will say, well, they don't get it adjusted because they have to have a C-section. And I'm like, okay, so even though you have to have a C-section, we can still work on balancing out that pelvis so baby can move freely. Babies need to move freely in the womb. It's where they're developing their primitive reflexes for survival outside of the womb. And if they're not able to move freely in the womb, it can often affect development after labor and delivery. So super important to know that, you guys, because it's not just about, having a vaginal birth, although it can help with that, absolutely. But there are so many moms, you guys, that we've seen that they're like, I have to have a C-section. Okay, well, let's make it the best experience possible for you having a C-section, right? And ultimately, when it comes down to it, you guys, we want a healthy mom and a healthy baby. That's ultimately, if everything else fell through the cracks, we want you guys to be healthy. We want babies to be healthy as well, as healthy as they can be. So like I said, it's really, we're going to be doing, one of the things that I'm going to be doing at the end of this month is called a bump talk, kind of like a mini prenatal class. And it's 2 hours long. We go into some supplementation, nutrition, but we do spend about a half an hour on breastfeeding and giving you guys tips to make it more successful from the beginning, and then a half an hour on labor and delivery. So that is also just the tip of the iceberg, but it gives you guys a lot of ideas as to, I didn't know this, I'm going to go research this because I want to know if that's important to me or not. The biggest tip, you guys, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We are simply scratching the surface, but I want you guys to know that there are things that you can do throughout labor or throughout pregnancy that are going to affect the health of your child and also lead to better labor and delivery stories. All right. So if you guys are interested, I think I'm going to have Erica post a link in the comments to our prenatal class. So if you are interested, you can sign up for that. I think it's the 28th of February. We usually go from 6 to 8, but I'm there to answer questions for as long as you guys want, really. And so many times dads will come and they're like, it's totally different information than what you get at the hospital. We go into just different stuff. So if you're interested, make sure that you look for the link in the comments. And until next time, if you guys have questions or anything, just message us and we'll get back to you. But I hope you guys enjoyed the information, and we will talk to you again soon. Bye.